Hey guys, welcome to Rob Riv's Modeling Insanity. I'm Rob Riviezzo, those who don't know me from Facebook or from the armor community. This is a channel going to be dedicated to modeling, armor modeling in particular, but we'll do some other things, maybe some sci-fi and some other types of subjects, but primarily armor, mostly based on building. I will do some painting. Some people know me in the community might say, oh, you don't paint that much, but we will do some painting. This is more of an introduction video as well as a tutorial. The tutorial video that's on here is a tutorial on how to do soldering, in particular 148 scale fuel tanks for an SU-122 or a T-3045. It's a kit manufactured set by Hauler, and you can see it in the description or in this picture right here of what the set looks like. What we're going to try to do is we're going to try to replicate the fuel tanks, again, that are on the T-3045, or in this case that I'm doing the SU-122. You can see it over here on the real thing. I've done them in the past, never using really manufactured fuel tanks. I usually scratch build them. So you can see them here on an SU-152 Bronco kit that I did in 148 scale. Those were used with this K&S brass sheet with plastic card end caps. Over here on a 135th scale SU-76I, I also used K&S brass sheet, cut it to size, and used plastic card end caps. But on this, we're going to be using photo etch end caps. We're going to be soldering them, and we're going to be sanding them down and being able to use them to replicate the real thing, ding them up, break them down if you want to. There's nothing like using photo etch to replicate, battle damage or, bangs and dings and dents. You could do it on plastic. You got to sand it down, thin it down. But when you use photo etch, it takes your models to another level. So again, this next tutorial is regarding 148 scale fuel tanks for the SU-122 or the T-3045. I hope you find it enjoyable. And if you like this video, please subscribe. Please like the video. And, hopefully I'm going to be, releasing videos at least twice a month if I can. My editing is not the best, but we're going to see. So again, I'm not good at this. I did edit this video. I made an intro, so hopefully you'll like it, okay? Roll the intro. Alright, so first what we're going to do is, this is the photo etch sheet that represents the fuel tank, and it's got ridges inside to keep the ends from falling down as you're putting it in. So the idea is now is to round this out into the fuel shape. Now it's been annealed, so it's been held over a flame or into a flame, heated up, and then dipped in cold water quickly so it breaks down the properties, so it makes it more pliable. So what we're going to first do is I'm going to use a bigger type of dowel to get the basic shape. It's still going to be rather big, but it's going to give me the beginning of the shape of the fuel tank first. So I'm going to take the fuel tank and I'm going to bend it around the dowel to start. So what I'm going to do is we're starting to get a rounded shape, which then allows us to take then the next dowel, which is the dowel we want, and this is going to create the rest of the shape. Now my wife is doing laundry behind us, and I'm not very good with videos just now. I'm still learning, so this is going to be a fairly unedited video just to show how I did these fuel tanks, because I was getting a lot of requests on how I did it, so this is going to be a quick video showing how I did it. So now what we do is, now that it's got the basic shape, you see it's rounded out. It might be just a little lopsided here. Let me just round this out a little more. I'm going to really press it around that dowel. It's going to really take its shape, and now we have the shape of a cylinder. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we can get this fuel top inside without falling down. It might take a couple of tries, but we're going to give it a go. Okay, So now we got the top in. What I'm going to want to do is I want to get some tape and start taping this down. So we have the end of the cylinder in there. What we want to do is we want to wrap the piece of tape around here. I'm going to close up the tape, which keeps this tight and which will keep the end of the fuel tank in place. It took a couple of tries, but I got it in there pretty good. Now the other side now is not taped, but it's got enough of a opening to be able to get the other side in, and we're going to do the same thing. I already have a couple of pieces of tape cut up at the bottom of the camera, piece of Tamiya tape, so we're going to put that right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the other top in, which just fell. It's okay. It'll come right out. Try to keep this on the screen. This needs to be sanded just a little bit. I think it's got a little bit of a burr. Sometimes you might still have like a piece of the burr from the connection of the photo etch, so I'm going to clean that up a little bit. All right. Off camera, I was able to get it to be able to see better. So I got the other side in, pushed in fine. Now I want to take another piece of tape and I want to tape this so we can get the soldering done. Make sure it's all lined up. Take this tape, I'm going to wrap it around. That looks pretty good. For the most part, it's all rounded up, ready for soldering. All right, so we're going to get this set up. I'm going to make sure this is evened up. Okay. Okay, so now that it's in place, we got it on the tape. And what we're going to do is, we're going to take the soldering iron, we are going to take the flux that's in the cup, and we are going to take a piece of solder, like so. Right, and what we're going to do is we're going to dip the solder into the flux, and we're going to put it to the end of the soldering iron, and we want it to bead up like a little ball. If it beads up like so, you can see it on the end of the soldering iron. What we're going to do is we're going to take the solder and we're going to transfer it to the part that we want to solder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the brush, I'm going to dip it into the flux, put it to the metal part that I want to transfer the solder to metal. Okay, so again, we're going to make sure that this is lined up. Remove that so nothing gets burned. Alright, we're going to make sure that this is all lined up and ready to go. Okay, I don't recommend using your hand there, but I'm going to just keep it right now. And we're transferring it to the metal part. Okay, now that's sealed up, and that's not going to now move anywhere. So this, I could theoretically take the tape off, but what we'll do is we'll solder a little more to the left, doing the same thing, and to transfer the solder. Now, it doesn't matter how thick it is. Now you can take the solder and put it on the sponge to kind of clean off some of the old solder, per that's sizzling. So again, we're going to take the soldering iron, we're going to take the solder to the iron, and we're going to beat up that solder, okay? Again, we're going to take the brush, we're going to dip it into the flux, we're going to put it on the part that we want to solder, and we're going to apply the solder to the part. You hear that burn? That's the solder transferring from the iron to the part, and we're spreading it out, and we're sealing that So now again, we're going to do it one more time. We are going to take the solder. We're going to take the flux, solder 9 to the solder, balling it up. You see the bead of ball right there. You don't want to burn yourself. I've done it many times. It's not good. So we apply the flux, and then we're going to apply the solder. I'm going to spread it all around. And what we're going to do is we're going to take one little bit. We're not even going to use solder on the iron. We're going to use the solder that's on the part. Kind of hold it and tweeze it, and we're going to spread it around. You can probably hear it sizzling. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to take the tape off. So we're going to take the tape off both sides. Because we don't need the tape anymore because now it's already sealed and secured. We're just going to have to smooth it all out when it's done. So right now we want to get more solder on this end, and we want to get more solder on that end, and then we want to solder and make sure that the end pieces don't fall off. So again, we're going to take flux to the part, solder into the flux, solder to the iron, and we'll see it bead up like that, like a ball. And then we're going to go right to the part. And when you hear that sizzle, you know it's working good. Alright, now we soldered from here to here. Now we just want to do that little part right there. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take, again, solder into the flux, solder to the iron, pull it up. We're going to take the brush into the flux onto the part, and we're going to apply the solder. Okay. Now, the whole seam that we created when we rolled up the fuel tank is now sealed with metal. That ain't going anywhere. And now that can be sanded nice and smooth, and that's what we're going to do. But first things first, we need to solder and seal up that so these end parts don't come off. So what we're going to do is this doesn't have to be neat because the sand, you're going to be able to sand this down. And once it's sanded and smoothed out, it doesn't matter how it is. It's because it doesn't matter how it's applied, as long as it can be sanded. So what we're going to do is, same thing, solder to the flux, and then solder to the iron. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the whole brush of flux right here, and we're going to just wet this whole area. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this, solder that's on the end of this soldering iron, and we're going to apply it to that area right there, okay? So what we're going to do is, to make it maybe a little bit easier, hold this up a little further, and what we're going to do is we're going to apply the solder, and you hear it sizzle, and we're going to move it around, and you can start seeing the solder melt and spread around. And what that's doing is now that whole part is sealed. You can see the solder around the part, and it's sealed around. That's not going anywhere now. Okay, so now we want to do the last part, and then we're done. Okay, what we'll do is the same thing. We're going to do the solder to the flux, dip it in, solder to the iron, beat it up, brush, solder, well, the flux to the part. And right now we're going to do the same thing. We are going to hold the fuel tank. I'm going to move the flux so I don't burn it up. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply, you hear it sizzle, book it around, and then it melts around, becomes like a liquid, kind of like a mercury liquid, and you spin it all around, and that end is soldered, and it's metaled in, and it's sealed, and that is not going anywhere. Now, what you want to do is we want to make it, you want to take that, and we want to smooth that out so it looks like the rest of the part. So what you do is take different grits of sandpaper from the most thickest. So maybe like a 200 or 400 grit sanding stick. Work your way up to like 120 so you can smooth it out. So what you're going to do is we're going to sand it down. You're going to keep sanding it down. Different grits, maybe some sanding sponges. This is a 400 grit infinity sanding sponge. I'm going to use that. And you keep sanding it down until it's nice and smooth. And what you want is, you want it to come out looking like that. This is where we're at. This is where you want it to go to. This is one that was sanded down smooth, as well as the ends. Sanded smooth and the end clamps put down. So that's it. That's how I did the fuel tanks. It's pretty easy. This is like one of my first videos, so it's not the best. It's not going to be edited. The lighting is terrible. I don't know how to use the camera too well, but I hope this was informative, and we're going to do more videos coming, and hopefully they'll be better as I keep going. Thanks, guys. Bye.